Hello from Westminster. We have been doing midday meditations on every day of this Holy Week, and we've been following Jesus' story in his last week. We're going to still be with the Gospel of John, and today we're going to read from chapter 13 and verses 21 to 30. After saying this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and declared, "Very truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he was speaking. One of his disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter therefore motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So while reclining next to Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is the one whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." So when Jesus had dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. After Judas received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. And Jesus said to him, "Do quickly what you're going to do." Now, no one at the table knew why he said this to him. Some thought that because Judas had the common purse, Jesus was telling him, "Buy what we need for the festival," or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving a piece of bread, Judas immediately went out, and it was night. I don't know about you, but I've read and heard this passage so many times. But it's the first time that I pay attention to one detail in the story. There is one person at the table with Jesus who knew who was the person who was going to deliver him to his persecutors, and he didn't stop it. The beloved disciple was reclining next to Jesus, the one whom Jesus loved, as the Gospel of John calls him sometimes. It's amazing that the Gospel will just brush over that detail and never mention it again, never mention anything about it. Peter motioned to him. Jesus said, "One of you will deliver me." And Simon goes, "Simon Peter, ask him, ask him." And he asks him, "Who is it, Jesus?" Jesus answers him. He knew. Someone knew something awful was going to happen, something unfair, undeserved pain, and he doesn't talk about it, doesn't mention it. Isn't that strange? Just imagine the whole scene with me. A group of close friends, Jesus' close friends, are gathered. They're eating. He's already told them this is maybe the last time they eat together. Maybe they thought he's just being dramatic. He says, "One of you will betray me." They exchange weird looks. Peter motions to the beloved disciple to ask Jesus whom that is. Beloved disciple does what Peter tells him to do and surely receives an answer. Now, don't you think that Peter would take the beloved disciple aside and pressure him to tell the truth? What about the 10 others? Haven't they seen the looks and heard the whispers? I'm just trying to imagine the scene. Everyone knows what's going on, right? One of you will betray me. That's not small, that's huge. One of you will betray me. No one would follow up on that. So basically, everyone knew there is a great injustice that's about to happen, and no one did anything about it. And from there, it only goes downhill. Peter denies Jesus, the rest of the 10 disciples disappear. as soon as Jesus is caught by the soldiers. So when we observe the behavior of the disciples, it seems that there is no lack of knowledge, but there's lack of courage. Being informed about what's going to happen doesn't change their behavior in any way, because what they're lacking is not the information. What they're lacking is the drive to risk their own comfort for someone else's well being. Is that just a story for us, or does it remind us of our reality? The reality that we live in, the reality of the suffering of the world today, is not different from the suffering of Jesus. There are people who suffer, and there are others who care enough to stir things, enough to ask the questions that need to be asked, but not enough to risk their own comfort, not enough to do what needs to be done when it involves a price that should be paid. Is it me, Lord? No, not me, okay. I can sit aside. I'm not directly responsible, so it's not my problem. Exchange looks, feel the weirdness in the room. Oh, done our part. So I'll leave it at that for us to reflect on this mid Holy Week about the roles we've taken in alleviating some of the suffering around us, and where do we identify ourselves in the scenario of John, and as well as the scenario that we live in. God bless you all, and I'll see you tomorrow.